The movie opens with Meg Altman, who had just gone through a divorce. She was still trying to adjust to her new life. She had a daughter named Sarah, who was about 11 years old and smart for her age. Sarah had diabetes, and Meg was always very protective of her. After the divorce, Meg needed a fresh start. She and Sarah began looking for a new place to live. Accompanied by another woman, they met a realtor who found a large, beautiful brownstone house in New York City for them. It had several floors, an elevator, and even an unusual room called the Panic Room. The Panic Room was a hidden, heavily secured space designed for emergencies, like break-ins or attacks. It had thick concrete walls, a steel door, and its own security system with cameras. The room had its own air supply, phone line, and was nearly impossible to break into. Sarah was adjusting more easily. She rode her scooter around the hallways and checked out all the cool features of their new home. Meg was not very comfortable with the idea of living in such a big place, especially one with a hidden room, but the house was available for a good price, and it seemed like a good chance for Meg and Sarah to start over. So, they bought the house and moved in. Please help me by hitting the subscribe button as we continue. On their first night in the house, Meg and Sarah explored the rooms. Sarah was fascinated by the Panic Room. They had their first dinner in their new home and Sarah went to bed. Meg kept unpacking their stuffs, after which she also went to bed. In the middle of the night, 3 men break into their house. These men were Burnham, who used to work for the company that designed the Panic Room. He knew the house well, especially the secret features. Junior, the grandson of the old man who had owned the house before Meg. He believed there was a lot of money hidden in the Panic Room. And Raoul, the most dangerous of the 3. He wore a ski mask and carried a gun. The 3 men thought the house was empty because Meg and Sarah had just moved in. They planned to sneak in quietly, get the money from the Panic Room, and leave before anyone noticed, but they didn't know that Meg and Sarah were already inside. When they realized this, they started arguing, not knowing if to continue with the plan or not. They finally decided to move on with the plan. Meg had trouble sleeping. She wakes up and took medication, and after that, she heard strange sounds downstairs. She looked at the security monitors in the Panic Room, which was in her bedroom. She notices movements from the men in the house. Her heart began to race. She runs out of her room, quickly to her daughter's room, wakes her up, and as they were running out of the room, one of the robbers stops them by blocking their way. But immediately, Meg turned around, took the elevator and headed down. They got off, and together, they raced into the Panic Room. The door slowly closed behind them, just in time, before the robbers could catch up with them. But there was a problem. What the thieves wanted was inside the Panic Room. Inside the Panic Room, Meg and Sarah were scared but safe for now. The burglars couldn't get in. Meg quickly looked around the room. There were security screens showing every part of the house. She could see the 3 men moving around. Sarah stood close to her mother. She was breathing fast and whispering questions. Who are they? What do they want? Meg didn't know the answers yet, but one thing was clear. The men were looking for something, and they were willing to break in to get it. Inside the room, Meg found a phone, but it wasn't working. The line hadn't been set up yet. That was a big problem. She couldn't call for help. The burglars started planning on how to get Meg and her daughter out of the Panic Room. Because they can't go into the room themselves, they started locking all the doors and windows, breaking the walls, trying to scare them. Burnham came up with a cold idea. If they couldn't open the Panic Room door from the outside, maybe they could force Meg and Sarah to open it themselves. He made a hole on the wall and started to pump gas into the Panic Room through the air system. Meg inhales it and starts coughing. Sarah finds a hole on the floor where they could get air supply. Meg gets a tape to cover up the air vent from where the gas was coming into the room. But it didn't work out. While the burglars were still arguing, Meg gives Sarah a fire blanket to cover herself up. She takes one as well, covering herself. Using a lighter she got from the drawer, she puts fire through the air ventilator which engulfed the room where the robbers were in, and also the Panic Room. She and her daughter fell on the floor and took cover. Junior's hand got burned, and the gas was disconnected. Sarah reached into a drawer and found a touch light. From the hole she found on the floor of the Panic Room, she was sending out an SOS using a Morse code. Finally, the SOS got the attention of the neighbor living across the street. He got up, but instead, shot his windows. They lost hope. Sarah's diabetes was becoming a worry and her insulin was outside the Panic Room. The burglars were arguing on the stairs about who got what shares. Meg saw this on the security monitor, so she seizes the opportunity to go get the cordless house phone. She had left it outside, in the bedroom. During the chaos, it was just a few steps away from the Panic Room door. Meg opened the door to go get the phone, which has already fallen to the ground. While she was at it, she mistakenly falls down the lampstand which got the attention of the burglars. They headed back to the room. but before they could get there, Meg already picked up the phone and rushed back into the panic room. While Sarah helped shut the door, Meg managed to connect the phone in the panic room, called 911, but it wasn't successful. Then she called her ex-husband, but before she could get the message across, the burglars disconnected the phone lines. At this point, the burglars were already exhausted. Junior told them that there was no way to get into the panic room, or to get the mother and daughter out. He told them he was done and out of the game. He headed for the door, and while he was about to leave the house, Raul, the masked man, shot him dead. Raul had pulled the trigger, yet, he stood there holding the gun like it was nothing. Cold, quiet, heartless. Burnham stared in disbelief. "What did you do?" Raul didn't answer. He just looked at Junior's body like it didn't matter. He dragged his body back into the house. Burnham backed away slowly. He was no killer. This was never supposed to happen. But now, a man was dead. Inside the panic room, Meg was shaking, holding tightly to Sarah, who was slipping further into a diabetic crisis. Meg's eyes were red from gas, fear, and exhaustion. Outside the room, things were just as intense, maybe even worse. Meg now realized something else. This wasn't just a robbery anymore. Raul was capable of murder. If he killed Junior, what would stop him from killing them too? Just as they were about to close the door, a man appeared in front of the door. It was Mr. Altman, Meg's ex-husband, whom she had called earlier. Raul raised his gun, ready to handle the problem the only way he knew, violence, but Burnham stopped him. Raul pointed a gun to Burnham's head, asking him to devise another plan that would make the mother and daughter come out of the panic room where he was going to shoot him. Burnham told him he has a plan. Raul struck Mr. Altman hard on the head. He collapsed to the ground groaning in pain. Inside the panic room, Meg and Sarah watched in horror. She saw it all on the screen monitor. The burglars asked Meg to open the door or they would kill Mr. Altman. They start hitting him and Sarah goes into shock. Sarah was barely conscious. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin cold and pale. Meg knew it wouldn't be long now. The diabetes was taking its toll fast. If she didn't get Sarah's insulin soon, she would lose her. She looked at the cameras again. Raul and Burnham were taking her ex-husband, Stephen, into another room. He was unconscious but still breathing. Then she opened the panic room door. The room was silent. Every sound she made felt too loud. She moved quickly but carefully. She turned into the kitchen and opened a fridge. Inside was the insulin kit, already prepared earlier in the day. She grabbed the syringe, glucose monitor, and the emergency juice box Sarah sometimes needed after an episode. As she turned to leave, she froze. Raul stood at the far end of the hallway, facing her. She didn't have time to waste. She ran with all the energy she had left, her hands gripping the insulin supplies tight. She tries to go into the panic room but it was already too late. The burglars were in there. She managed to throw in her daughter's medication before the door got locked. She pleaded with the robbers to give her daughter a shot of her insulin, and they did, but they warned her not to call the cops else her daughter dies. The cops her ex-husband had called earlier before showing up at the house, finally showed up, but she tried to cover it up, telling them it was nothing, in a bid to save her daughter's life. After some questions which she responded that everything was fine, they left. She felt helpless, but proceeded to take matters into her hands. After the police left, she proceeded to smash all the CCTV cameras in the house, and locking all the doors. Meanwhile, the robbers have successfully opened the safe in the panic room, and inside it, they found the bearer bonds worth millions of dollars. They took it, opened the panic room door, and headed out with the little girl. On the first floor, they met Mr. Altman, whom they had previously tied to the chair. He was with a gun, pointed towards them. He asked them to let his daughter go, or he would shoot them. Raul, who was holding Sarah, resisted. From behind, Meg signaled Sarah to bend down, as she uses a Monday hammer to hit Raul, which made him fall down the stairs to the floor. Burnham got away. Raul got up and came back up. He lunged at Meg, grabbing her and slamming her against the floor. He punched her in the face and knocked her to the ground. But Meg didn't stop fighting. She was already getting weak. Raul reached for the Monday hammer to smash Meg with it. Suddenly, Burnham appeared back in the house. He has a gun with him, and he shot Raul, then ran out of the house again trying to escape. The police rushed in seconds later, guns drawn, yelling for everyone to get on the floor. Burnham couldn't escape. He was surrounded by the police. He surrendered, and was arrested. Meg sat on the floor, bleeding but alive, holding her daughter tightly. It was finally over. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. See you in the next video.